Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those of you calling in for the first time and those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. We like to move quickly through these calls, bottom line the information for you. We know you're busy people, you have other things to do. We have a standard format. We spend a few minutes talking about the situation in Iraq and the reinstitution of the dinar, which we continue to believe is the base currency for the potential reset of some of these other currencies. A few minutes talking about the program we've put in place to assist you, and then we go to a brief Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about the situation in Iraq right now. It's rather confusing at the present time. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the purchase or the sale of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information that we think is relevant. And for those of us holding the dinar, the most relevant piece of information would be the potential window for the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. Now, last week I had a window between 30 and 45 days. Based on what's been going on in country there, I've got to back that off a little bit, and we're back to about 45 to 60 days for the reinstitution. The problem is the rather severe budget shortfall that they have as the result of the precipitous drop in the price of a barrel of oil. We have to remember that Iraq is still basically a central command economy. Anywhere from 85 to 90% of Iraqis are actually government employees, receive salary from the government, and the vast majority of the revenue generated by the government comes from the sale of petroleum. So as the price of a barrel of oil goes, so goes the Iraqi economy. Now that's going to change, but that's probably going to take a little bit more time than we would like. Now the new Al-Kazemi government has established what they refer to as an emergency cell to address financial reforms. And there are some potential snags in some of the things they're considering. For example, one of the things they're considering is printing additional currency, a local currency, in order to pay government salaries. The problem with that, of course, is it mitigates against the deletion of the zeros project, which I like to refer to as the collection of the zeros. If they reintroduce this hyperinflationary currency, then they, again, are going to have to recollect all of that currency, so that's going to be a delay. And the second issue is the government's determination that they're going to continue with the 1/12 budget. Rather than writing a budget for the balance of the 2020 fiscal year, they're going to go month to month. Now, actually, this could cut both ways, because a month-to-month budget would allow them, either because they want to reinstitute their currency or because an increase in the price of a barrel of oil could positively affect their revenues, they could at any point of time write a budget for the balance or the remaining of the fiscal year. So that's a possibility as well. Short term, their concern for the Al-Kazemi government is the payment of salaries. Long term, their objective is the transition from their central command government to a free market economy and limited central government. And, of course, the reinstitution of the dinar in country is going to be affected by these decisions. The reason I'm still positive about the 45 to 60 days is because I think the solution is possible, and this is what I think the solution is. The solution short term would be for the payment of salaries using the CBI reserves that exist. That would give them time, which would allow the price of a barrel of oil to rise. That would make it either unnecessary or a minor adjustment to the budget as the price of a barrel of oil rises. That would allow them to reinstitute their currency, and even if they did have a shortfall at that point, they'd probably be able to secure IMF loans or have loans guaranteed through the United States Treasury. So when you stand back and look at all of this, as I say, it looks to me that the 45 to 60-day window is a very viable window, and I do think the Al-Kazemi government, the new government, is a transactional government, meaning they're trying to get things done. They're not like the previous governments that for a variety of reasons, because of corruption, because of influence by the Iranians, were dragging their feet because they were either being bribed or they were skimming from the auctions. So I'll just say it one more time and then we'll move on. The reinstitution, as far as I'm concerned, is still a go between the next 45 to 60 days. Now, that being the case, we moved to a discussion of the program Trust has put in place to assist you. Most Dinarians are not wealthy individuals. They're hardworking Americans that, for the first time in their lives, will be managing a rather substantial amount of money. To that end, Trusts Unlimited has put a program in place to assist you. It is a two-phased program. Phase 1 is pre-RV. Phase 2 is post-RV. Pre-RV involves the establishment of a package of pre-RV asset protection trusts with the assignment of your dinar and other currencies on paper to that trust package. Post-RV involves all of the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. So let's start with Phase 1, which is, again, the establishment of a package of pre-RV asset protection trusts with the assignment of your currencies on paper to that trust package. Now, there is a reason Trusts Unlimited has established this package of irrevocable trusts. Very simply, it's because it's the best bulletproof asset protection available domestically. Now, there are other entities that individuals have established to provide some level of asset protection, but they're going to be insufficient for a number of reasons. For example, individuals have established LLCs and sub-S corporations, and they can provide some level of asset protection. But LLCs and sub-S corporations basically separate the liability from business assets from your personal assets. The problem here is that the currencies are a personal asset. In addition, courts have ruled that LLCs and sub-S corporations owned in the majority by either one person or a closely held group can be pierced for civil litigation. So the LLC and sub-S corporation are not going to provide the asset protection you are going to need and want. Some individuals have established revocable or living trusts, and these trusts do exempt your estate from the cost and delay of probate and can substantially reduce and in some cases eliminate the federal estate tax. But revocable or living trusts can provide no privacy or asset protection, so they're going to be inappropriate for your needs. Lastly, individuals have established single irrevocable trusts, and they do provide a higher level of asset protection. But even a single irrevocable trust has an inherent flaw, and it's because all of your assets are housed in that one single legal entity, meaning that if anything within that single irrevocable trust is brought into civil litigation, that would necessarily bring your other assets and net worth into that litigation because everything is owned by that one individual trust. The solution is to establish a package of irrevocable trusts This is the only way that you can be protected both pre- and post-RV. But in addition, in order to enjoy that protection, the trust package must be established prior to the revaluation, and I'll get into the reasons for that now. First, by establishing our package of irrevocable trusts, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity. That's because assets within our package are sealed, meaning that the general public will have no knowledge of your net worth or your actual holdings. Second, by establishing this trust package, you will be able to avoid personal IRS scrutiny. If you are holding these currencies in direct title when they revalue, the IRS computers will probably spit out an audit. And with the potential magnitude of this revaluation relative to your prior year's earnings, you're probably looking at a full-blown 6-year audit. Such an audit would be time-consuming. It would certainly be frustrating because it's come along at the point of the revaluation, and you're going to be much more interested in doing other things rather than dealing with the IRS. And lastly, the cost of a 6-year audit would probably be more than the cost of our asset protection trust. On the other hand, if your pre-RV trust package is in force and you have assigned your currencies to that trust package pre-RV, you will have successfully transferred the taxable event of this revaluation from yourself personally to the trust. Now, this is important for 2 reasons. First, there's less than a 10% chance of an IRS audit if the taxable event were to occur within a rather sophisticated trust package such as ours. But second, and most importantly, even if the IRS determines to audit your trust, they can't do a 6-year audit. Why? Because the only taxable event within the trust will be the revaluation itself. The third reason you'd want to establish this trust package is if you plan on gifting currencies to family and friends in certain situations. Philanthropic gifting can always be done on a tax-preferred basis, either pre- or post-RV. But in order to avoid a substantial 40% federal gift tax, you're going to need to give currencies to family and friends prior to the revaluation. Now, if you're gifting to individuals that you have no problem giving them the currency to exchange for themselves, or giving them the U.S. dollar lump sum after you have negotiated the exchange, that can be accomplished outside of a trust with a standard gift letter. But if you are hesitant for any reason to give any of these individuals the post-RV lump sum, then you can gift to them through a specially designed gift sub-trust that is part of our trust package. And because you'd be gifting through this sub-trust, their U.S. dollars would be protected along with yours. The language of this sub-trust will allow you to gift up to a certain amount of a currency or currencies, meaning you can gift to these individuals the exact U.S. dollar amount that you had in mind, irrespective of the exchange rate. But because you will be gifting to them through this sub-trust, you will have direct control of those post-RV dollars, which means that you can manage, invest, and distribute the money to these individuals as you deem appropriate. The fourth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it's been structured in such a way as to allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. I'll give you 2 quick scenarios. Scenario number 1, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs an estate of $25 million. Now that estate must go through probate, a process that ordinarily can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. But remember, probate is a public disclosure process, meaning that the general public will be aware of the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much they each stand to inherit. So if anyone feels they have a legitimate claim against you, your estate, or your heirs, they can simply file that claim with a probate court. And that could tie the estate up for years, and in some cases even decades. And your heirs will have either limited access or no access at all to their respective inheritance until the probate process is completed. Then there's something called the federal estate tax. This is the tax that the federal government would assess in order for that estate to be transferred to heirs. Under current law, approximately $10 million of that $25 million estate would bypass any federal estate tax, but the balance could be taxed as much as 55%. Now, this scenario is not only unacceptable, it's completely and totally avoidable. Scenario number 2, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, you assign those currencies on paper to our asset protection trust package. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs that very same estate of $25 million, but this time protected in our asset protection trust package. As a result, there will be no probate, there will be no public disclosure of your estate, your heirs will have immediate access to their respective inheritance, and the federal estate tax will be zero, saving your heirs as much as 55% of their inheritance. The fifth reason you'd want to establish this pre-RV asset protection trust package is for some very specific asset protection benefits. One pre-RV, one post-RV. Pre-RV, this trust package will allow you to circumvent something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. What does that mean? Under our system of civil procedure, you can only be sued for what you actually own in direct title or the value of property at the time you transfer it out of title to an entity like our trust package. So let's take the previous example from before. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. You transfer the currencies to our trust package. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. You begin to live a lifestyle more reflective of your newfound wealth, and a couple of years down the road, someone sees that you're living rather comfortably and decides for whatever reason that they're going to sue you. Well, this prospective plaintiff has a couple of problems. First, he or she better have a very strong case and very deep pockets, because this trust has been structured in such a way as to make it extremely expensive and extremely time-consuming to pursue civil litigation. But second, and most importantly, once any prospective plaintiff learns that pursuant to the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, the only thing they could ever win by way of a civil award would be $5,000, the value of the property at the time you transferred it out of title and to our trust package, and none of the post-RV value of $25 million, there will be no lawsuit. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop-loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you have acquired this wealth. This protection is accomplished through a legal strategy called segregation of assets. This is why we have established a package of trusts, and this is how it would work. Again, we'll use the same example. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, transfer the currencies to our trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. And now that you have $25 million in trust, you decide to make some purchases. So you purchase a larger primary residence, a vacation home, perhaps a half a dozen rental properties for tax write-off and additional cash flow, a couple of cars, a boat, and let's say an RV. But as you purchase these items, you place each of them in their own separate subtrust to be managed by your master trust. Now, this is the package I'm referring to. Now, why is this superior asset protection? Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say one day you're driving one of your new cars. You have an accident. The accident is clearly your fault. And tragically, someone is seriously injured or even killed. Well, the family of the victim is going to want to sue you. But remember, civil suits are about monetary awards, and you don't legally own anything. So the plaintiffs would be left to sue the owner of the car that you were driving. Well, who owns that car? One of your subtrusts, of which you are merely the beneficiary. And what's in that subtrust? Merely that one car and the car insurance policy. In that scenario, the car insurance carrier will negotiate an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family. You will not be involved in those rather unpleasant negotiations. The car insurance carrier will repair or replace your car, making you whole. And this is important. All of your other assets and net worth are safely protected in the other subtrusts. Why? Because under the law, those separate subtrusts are separate legal entities or persons, and the plaintiffs would have no standing to pursue a separate legal entity. So this package of trusts work very much the way a commercial barge would work, where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. Why? In the event that any compartment is ever breached, the only potential loss would be the cargo in that one compartment. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls, and the barge will never sink. Now, these benefits are lost to you if you do not establish your package of trusts prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. Now, there is one other benefit, and it's this. If you are, in fact, the holder of one of our pre-RV asset protection trust packages, then you will be eligible to participate in Phase 2. All of the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. I'll just make mention of one here today. Trusts Unlimited will be sponsoring a post-RV seminar to be held in Disney World, Florida, approximately 30 days after the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Present at that seminar will, of course, be the staff of Trusts Unlimited to assist you with the management and funding of your trust packages post-RV. Many of our clients have expressed desires to establish scholarship funds, foundational trusts, special needs trusts, charitable remainder trusts, and even the more complicated 501c3 nonprofit and offshore trusts. And the proper way to fund those entities is through the direct transfer of funds from your asset protection trust to those newly formed entities. We'll also have our tax specialists on hand. With this substantial increase in wealth, individuals are going to need to understand some of the more sophisticated tax strategies that they're going to want to utilize in order to legally reduce their tax liability. We'll also have our independent fee-based wealth managers there as well. You're going to want to reposition assets after the revaluation for a number of reasons. First, we know statistically that 95% of all windfalls, however large and from whatever source, are lost within 3 to 5 years due to inexperience, mismanagement, and fraud. We also know that under the new G20 bank bail-in provisions, the failure of banks in the future will no longer be made whole through the general taxing authority of the respective governments, but first and foremost by the confiscation of funds at those banks. So you're going to want to get money out of the banks and it work in other markets. Lastly, the general global shift from fiat-based to Basel III compliant commodity-backed currencies in and of itself is going to create extremely volatile financial markets, and you're going to want a substantial amount of your net worth in tangible assets in order to avoid that volatility. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV, financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, and is empowered to manage all of the other sub-trusts. One optional gift sub-trust, which can at any time be converted to a standard sub-trust, and 8 additional sub-trusts to hold financial assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. This was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients, a package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But we were, as I've said earlier, we're substantial currency holders ourselves, and about a decade ago we decided to work with Dinarians and provide that trust protection for them, but we knew that that price tag would be unaffordable for too many. So by simplifying that trust package, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. There are several ways you can pay for that. If you pay us up front, we'll discount the price further to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. If that's not possible, we do have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which sum would basically offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust package. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. We will charge no interest. The only proviso is once the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar occurs, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. Now, with this approach, anyone that has currencies and understands the need for getting their affairs in order and their trust in place pre-RV should be in a position to afford to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your card would actually be substantially less than the $100 a month you'd pay under our deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Again, our objective is to help you get your affairs in order and your trust in place prior to the revaluation and of the dinar and these other currencies for all of the reasons that we've stated here. Now, we will be moving to the Q&A in a little while, but before I do, and again for the benefit of our newer callers, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Trusts Unlimited and why you may want to seriously consider contacting us for our initial no-obligation informative package. Our trust product was authored by our attorney, Robert Bly. He's been a practicing attorney for over 40 years, specializing in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning. I myself hold degrees in political science, macroeconomics, and finance. I've worked in these areas for over 38 years, and I, along with my clients, were personally involved in the reinstitution of the Kuwaiti dinar in the early 90s. So between the two of us, Robert Bly and I have over 78 years' experience working precisely in this area, and I frankly know of no firm that can make that claim. Now, Bob and I have been working together for about a decade in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning, and it has been disheartening from time to time to see people walk away from sound estate planning and trust creation because of the mistaken belief that by doing so, they have lost control of their assets and their affairs. In point of fact, it's just the reverse. Under our system of civil procedure, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of them or lose them outright. And it's at precisely those times in life that you need and want control. If you've lived for any length of time, you've either experienced in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes, then there are substantial investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth in the aggregate, courtesy of the information age, is identity theft. But the number one loss of personal wealth remains: confiscation through civil litigation. Anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. So in point of fact, the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts, and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you're anticipating a substantial increase in value. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives, both pre- and post-RV, as we understand them. So again, thanks for listening to the call. I'm going to go to the Q&A in just a moment. When I do, I will be giving you our contact information. So if the things I've discussed here today are of interest, I strongly suggest that you get our initial package. It's got a lot of information about us, about trusts, about the revaluation. Should you decide to proceed, everything you need is included in the package. But once again, you're under no obligation by receiving the package. So I'm going to open the Q&A here. Two quick rules on the Q&A. We do not take service calls on the Q&A. Our existing clients can contact us by phone or email if they have service questions. And second, for obvious reasons, in order to participate in the Q&A, your name and number must be on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Q&A now. And while I'm waiting for any potential questions, I'd like to give you our contact information. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. If you'd like to listen to a recent conference call playback, or if you'd be kind enough to refer us to someone that might be interested in our services, you can either go to YouTube and then go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can go to IQD calls and go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can simply dial the same number that you dialed for this live call this afternoon, with the exception of the last number. Rather than dialing a 4, you'll dial a 3, and then use the same access code, which is 739-394#. If you'd like to be included on our email list, you can go to our website, go to the bottom, enter your name and email address where indicated. You should be in our email list within 24 hours. Bear in mind that we only send emails out periodically, pre-RV, but after the reinstitution of the Dinar in country, emails will probably be going out on a weekly basis. So let's go to our calls here. Our first caller here is area code 312. That's got to be Les. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. How you doing, Jim?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing better. Better because Iraqi TV has some news about printing money, man.
Yeah. That's a mixed bag.
A mixed bag of lower denomination notes you're talking about?
Well, if they're printing more lower denoms, that's good. But I'm concerned that until the reinstitution, they might be kicking out some more of that 3-0 garbage.
Well, they were saying something about printing it to pay salaries and stuff like that and to defer loans.
Well, as I said earlier in the call, if you didn't miss it, it would make more sense for them to utilize. Well, what I said was that, again, that's hyperinflationary, and it mitigates against the deletion of the Zeros project. What would be a better solution for them short term, while they're waiting for the price of oil to rise, is to simply use the reserve that the CBI is holding, and they wouldn't need to print new money. So that's what I think they're going to end up doing. The other thing they can do if they take that route is that the IMF will probably lend the money, and the United States Treasury will probably guarantee the loans.
Okay. So that still moves us ahead further towards exchanging then.
Right. The printing of more money backs us off, which is why I've Last week I had my window at 35 to 40 days. Today I've got it at 45 to 60 days until they resolve the shortfall in the budget. And again, in my opinion, the best way for them to deal with it, and what I think they're going to do, is just utilize the reserve CBI has.
Okay. All right. That's all I got. Thanks for taking my call. Have a good week. And say hi to the professor.
Will do. Take care, my friend.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, Les was our first and only call today. That's certainly fine. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to the call. Again, if the things we discussed are of interest to you, I strongly suggest you contact us by phone or email, and we'd be happy to send you our no-obligation package. And lastly, of course, that window at 45 to 60 days means we're moving up on it fast, so you're running out of time to get your affairs in order. Once you get our package, it has a lot of the things I've discussed and more in writing, so you can review these things and make your own decision about how you want to proceed. Our next call, of course, is scheduled for next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get an emergency email out for those on our email list and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we will be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to listen to the call, and have a great week.